My name is Phil Grabsky. I'm a director, producer. I started and have been running a production company called Seventh Art Productions. We've made television programs for everybody. This was for Channel 4, and essentially what happened was that I said I'd made a film in Afghanistan, and I said I now wanted to have a look at a country that I knew very little about, that I'd read something about, which was Angola. And Channel 4 said yes. But I had to go and find a story. So I went to Angola, and the story that I landed upon was Luanda, or Angola's one music school. They had only one music school, and I focused on 3 students that went to that music school. But it was quite an honest film in the sense that, if you have reality shows these days looking at music students, you always want to give a sense that one of them is going to make it as a superstar. Somehow there is hope. The reality in Angola and Luanda was that there was no hope. These were desperately poor. There was an awful lot of corruption that affected ordinary people. And despite their best efforts, these 3 students were not going to realize their dreams. And we made that as a feature-length film, which went out on Channel 4. It was known as Escape From Luanda or Angola Music School. The process really was to find a story, know what it was, do your research, know what you were trying to tell through this story. And then myself and a colleague who also filmed, we just went there, I can't remember how many times, but a challenge that I like, filming and trying to make sure that you're telling a story, because it's all about storytelling. It was also laborious, day in, day out, hanging around this music school, watching our students learning a piece by Beethoven but nevertheless, we made a film that we were happy with. The one thing that disappointed me was that Channel 4, which was set up in the UK to offer, independent voices, diverse voices. I remember the commissioning editor saying to me, well, that's Africa done for the year. One film was something that he considered to be all that Africa deserved. I do remember, however, that there is a kudos to ÉCU, one of those that we believe there are valid reasons to submit to in terms of being part of something which we support, but also it's certainly at the time I remember thinking it's very good. Part of the appeal for me of going to a festival is to watch other films and learn as a filmmaker. I'm always amazed when I go to festivals like yours at the quality of films that get made. The last 15 years, we have specialized in something that I created called Exhibition on Screen, which is a unique cinema brand that currently screens in about 60 countries. We release 4 cinema films a year about major exhibitions or major artists or major artistic institutions. We recently had a very big success with something called Vermeer, the Greatest Exhibition. And a number of things were coming together, not least the way in which you could distribute films to the cinema, and the beginning of something that was then called alternative cinema, which is now called event cinema, things like the Met Opera, National Theatre, where Exhibition on Screen now sits. So I decided that some of these films that we were making about major exhibitions for television, I would switch and make them for the cinema. Cinemas were kind of a little bit unsure. Why would we show an art exhibition? And I said, well, it's not an art exhibition. We use the art exhibition as a springboard to create a new revealing biography of an artist. The 1st one we did was a major Leonardo exhibition at the National Gallery. And then we did a 2nd one, which was a And I managed to persuade 42 cinemas in the United Kingdom to show it. And so gradually it built. Our Vermeer film last year was shown in 550 cinemas. We've just done one about Klimt, and before that about Mary Cassatt and Frida Kahlo. We've got one out right now called My National Gallery. And, you know, we've created this cinema network around the world, which, you know, we have an inherent audience that look forward to the next film. It works for us. Channel 4, I mean, television has changed a lot, and in some ways not for the better in the last 2 decades. British television, for example, used to do more strands, and we used to make documentary films, authored documentary films for the BBC, for Channel 4, for ITV, to fit these strands. So if they're not watching documentaries about Europe, or documentaries that show what life is like in Afghanistan, or Syria, or Turkey, or Libya, then, for example, people like that become demonized, and people are afraid of them, don't understand them, don't think of them as the same human beings. I think that broadcasters, you know, simply and sometimes deliberately underestimate the impact of what they do. The main thing I would say about documentary filmmaking is that while the process, technically it's become easier and cheaper, it's about storytelling, and it's about making a point. It's not enough just to go into an environment and film because it looks interesting. You, as a filmmaker, like an author, you have to be wanting to say something. I've been running a production company called Seventh Art Productions. On the website too, where we do a painting weekly podcast, lots of clips, Q&As,